the last line or two before the Mishnah 27a. So we're in the middle of discussing bris milah. Who can do a bris milah? We had two sources that exclude certain people. One said that only if you're part of the covenant and your children afterwards, that you're commanded to give them a bris milah, are you able to do a bris milah? And one said that you have to have a bris milah. You have to be considered that you had a bris milah in order to do a bris milah. So we said the difference is isha, because he could. We said that a woman would be the difference between these two opinions. That according to Va'atas Brisi Tishmor Leka, the isha la bas milahi, she was never in the command to make sure you preserve my covenant for all generations. But lemandam or himol yimol ika, the isha command the mihila damya. We saw the Mishnah in Adarim that considered all Jews circumcised, even the ones that were not circumcised, and all the non-Jews were not circumcised, even the one that were circumcised. So according to that, a woman's also considered on that level of circumcised because she's a Jew, and therefore she would be able to give a bris milah. I think there's a difference in the maybe Sfardim and Ashkenazim. I have to double check, but both are brought down, I believe. So, okay, now on that opinion that a woman can't give a bris milah, we have a whole story of Tzipora that gave her son a bris milah. Tzipora tsar. So she took it and she gave the son a bris milah. So it says that opinion will have to hold that v'tikach, not that she took, but rather that she caused to take. V'takach, she caused someone else to take, and they did the bris milah. Says the Gemara, how could you say that? The pasuk says that v'tichros sounds like she herself cut it off. No, kari bey, you have to read it v'tachres, that she caused someone else to cut it off. The amr le'inish achrina, she told someone else, most likely Moshe Rabbeinu, v'avad, and he did the bris milah, not that she did it. Interesting. She went and she started the bris milah. V'asa Moshe v'agmara, but Moshe went and he finished it off. Okay, so continuing our what you can and cannot do with the idol worshippers. So we had business, we had childbirth. Good morning. We had childbirth, we had nursing, and now we had bris milah, and now we're up to what about getting healed? Getting healed, and then some Hilchos Shabbos is thrown in also. So let's see. Misrapin mehen ripui mammon of alo ripui nefashos. Cryptic statement. We'll get to it in the Gemara that you can be healed with the healing of money and not with the healing of souls. We'll see what that means. Now, what about haircuts? The ein mistapin man b'chol makom divrei Meir. You can't get haircuts from them. According to Rav Meir, he's consistent again. He's always worried for that chance they're going to kill you. The Chamim omrim b'rshus harabim mutar aval lo beino lebeino. So the Chamim say in a public domain is going to be permitted, but not in a private domain. Just if it's just you and the barber, then even the Chamim are worried for your life. But if it's in a public area, then it'd be permitted. So now, what did it mean you can be healed with the healing of money and not the healing of souls? What does that mean? Says the Gemara, "Mai ripui mamon, mai ripui nefashos." What does it mean? Ripui mamon, ripui nefashos. So what is that statement referring to? So Ilema, first attempt is ripui mamon b'schar, ripui nefashos b'chinam. Maybe money means, for money, if you pay them. And ripui nefashos means for free, just with their body, means they'll just do you a favor. So then, says the Gemara, there's a much better way to phrase that. Misrapmen b'schar, you can get healed with money for payment. And you can pay them, they'll heal you. Avalo b'chinam, but not for free. Why did it choose the expression of money versus souls? So Ella ripui mamon, it's a davar she'ein bo sakana. Ripui mamon is referring to non-life-threatening injuries. And ripui nefashos, healing of your soul, means something which your life is at stake. It's a davar she'ein bo sakana. So once again, Rav Meir holds that something, to give you a stitch or something, maybe that would be okay. That's not life-threatening. But anything which is life-threatening, so that is going to be prohibited. Yeah. Yeah. Ripa Nefesh, yeah. So now, the Ha'amar Rav Yehuda, and this is going to be important for later, the Ha'amar Rav Yehuda, Afilu Rivda Dit Kusilta Lo Netzaninon Minayu. Even a like a lancet, like a little tube or the needle of the bloodletter, even that you can't get from them. So what do you see? According to Rabbi Yehuda, even something which is not life-threatening, just bloodletting, taking a shot, taking your blood, even that you are not able to do from them. So, and there's going to be a dispute if this statement is disputed or not. Could make a difference in halacha. Okay, so now Ela Rip. So what does it mean? So let's go back and try to figure this out. What is our Mishnah referring to? Ela Ripui Mamabet is referring to behemto, and Ripui Nefashos is gufe. Maybe the healing of your money means your possessions could be healed. You could take your animals to the idol worshiping vet, but your own souls that you can't. But Ripui Nefashos, Ripui Nefashos is gufe. It's referring to your own body. The Hainu, the Amar Rabbi Yehuda, that's what Rabbi Yehuda was saying. Afilu rivda de kusilta lo matzinan minayhu, and that's what he meant when he said that even the bloodletter's lancet, his needle, even that you cannot get healed from because anything regarding you cannot go to the idol worshiper, even a non-life-threatening injury, but anything referring to your animals, that you could go. Okay. Amar Rav Chisda, Amar Marukva, Aval im Amarlo. Let's say you go and you ask him. You're not going to get healed. You want to know medical advice. You call up the local pagan doctor and you ask him, Sam Ploni Yafalo or Sam Ploni Ralo. You want to know this new vaccine, this COVID vaccine. It's a good vaccine and not a good vaccine. So you're just asking him. So what about that? So that's mutter. That's allowed. Why? Turn to the page. Savar, because the idol worshiper, right? You would have thought it's prohibited because maybe he'll tell you it's good for you to try to kill you, but he realizes savar shiule mashilo. You're just asking him. Now, you're asking him. You're not going to him for medical treatment. You're going for medical advice, and he thinks that just like you're asking him, so shiule mashilo, you're only asking him. You're not asking for treatment. You're just asking for medical advice. But kihechi the mashilo. Just like you're asking him, you're gonna ask for a second opinion. You're gonna ask another doctor, and therefore, if he gives you bad advice, you're gonna call the next doctor, and you're gonna say, "Mr. Pagan Doctor over here told me it's a good vaccine," and they're gonna laugh at him. They're gonna ruin his reputation. So to avoid ruining his reputation, if you just ask him if it's good or not good, we're not worried he's going to go tell you it's good, and then you're going to take it and it'll be life-threatening. Because he understands you're just asking for advice, and he doesn't want to ruin his reputation by telling you the wrong advice. Yeah. I don't know. Rashi adds in, you're asking like you're almost testing him. Is he going to say the truth or not? So as opposed to asking him for yourself. Okay. Either way, he understands that you're asking him not because you need the treatment. So why are you asking him? I guess you're asking him to test him if he knows the stuff or not. So just like he understands that, and therefore he wants to pass the test to keep up his reputation as a good doctor, he's not going to lead you the wrong way. Okay. Amarav Yochanan, Amrila Amarav Chist Amarav Yochanan. Now, Safek Chai, Safek Mace. Now it's interesting. I think I was looking up a little bit in the footnotes. They point out a number of comments that Moshe Feinstein pulls out of this Gemara when being asked medical shilas, medical questions about surgeries and things like that. Very interesting. So in this case, the first case is Safek Chai, Safek Mace, meaning if you don't take him for treatment now, he might live, he might die. You're not sure. So now, says the Gemara, Ein Masat Mehen, you cannot go to the idol worshiper and get healed from him. However, if it's Vadai Mace, if he's for sure going to die, if you leave him to be, he's for sure going to die, then Masat Mehen. So then you can go and you can get healed from the idol worshiper. Now, Rashi points out there's no Jew to heal him. There's only the idol worshiper to heal him. Okay. Says the Gemara, hold on. Mace, but Haika Chaisha. What's going to happen? The whole worry is to go to the idol worshiper to get healed. He might kill you. So now the guy's for sure going to die if you don't do anything. So now you're going to go to the idol worshiper to get some kind of treatment, but maybe he'll kill you now, and instead of the guy living for another few days, he'll die today. So you think he has 1 week to live, so it's a Sunday, so you go on Monday. Doesn't that count? Aren't you worried that he might take away some of his life? So, says the Gemara, l'chayisha lo chayshinan. For that amount of chayisha, of that amount he's going to live. In this situation, we're not worried about it. That he's going to speed up his death, right? So what's comparable to this case? Comparable is a person that has a chronic illness or something, or they're going to die, and you have a surgery that might save his life, right? That's hoping to save his life, but there's a risk he might die early, right? So that's comparable to this case. If you leave him, he's for sure going to die. You're going to go to the idol worshiper. Yeah, he might kill him, but he might make him live. And yet we say that you can go to him and take that risk. So that's interesting. That'd be comparable to a surgery with a certain element of risk potentially. Really, you're not worried about even for that little bit of life that the idol worshiper might come and kill him. You're not worried for that. Because this is talking about there was a certain siege. There was a certain siege that the Arameans surrounded the city, and there was 4 Mitzurayim, 4 people that had tsuras that were not allowed to enter into the walls of Eretz Yisrael, I believe. And basically, they had no food and they didn't know what to do. There was a siege, so they said either we're going to stay here, or we're going to jump into the Arameans' arms and hope for the best. So it says, "Dichsiv ima maru navo ir." Let's go to the city. V'harav ir, but there's a famine in the city. Umasnu sham. So we're going to die there. But if we stay here, we're going to die also. So instead of us dying now, let's give up our lives. Let's go and jump into the city and hope that we will survive. Now, so let's take that risk. Let's take that risk of jumping into their arms and seeing what happened. Now, right now, if you stay where you are, you're going to die in a few days because of famine. However, you're going to jump into the hands of the Arameans, and maybe they'll make you live, and maybe they'll kill you. So what do you see? They were willing, they're willing to take a risk and potentially die earlier. So what do you see? They're not worried about that. They'd rather go take that risk in the event that they might survive for longer, even though they might die earlier, than stay where they are, status quo, and for sure die in the near future. So you see from this story that they weren't worried about chayisha, that this amount of speeding up their death when their life is at stake. Meisvei says the Brisa, lo yisa v'yitin adam im haminin. So you're not going to do business with the apostates. The ein misrapman, and rabbis made a prohibition. You cannot get healed from them. Afilu chayisha, even for chayisha, even for to live a little bit longer. You're not allowed to get healed from an apostate. Now, Ma'aseh ben Dama ben Achoso Rabbi Shmuel. There's a story with Ben Dama, who was the son of the sister of Rabbi Shmuel. So Rabbi Shmuel's nephew, Rabbi Shmuel's sister's son. Shehikishu nachash, that a snake bit him, and it sounds like death was imminent. Uba Yaakov Ishkvar Sakanya the Rafos. So this Yaakov Ishkvar Sakanya was an idol, was an apostate. He came to heal him. Velo hinich Rabbi Shmuel, and Rabbi Shmuel did not let him go heal his nephew. V'amrle Rabbi Shmuel. They changed it. Yeah, they changed it. V'amrle. Yeah, v'amrle achi. Yeah, just skipping the next words. Achi hanach lov erpamenu. Let me be and get healed from him, and I'll bring you a source in the Torah. V'ani ekra, v'ani abi mikra min Torah, and we'll get back to what that pasuk was. What the pasuk? Yeah. So shehu muter, let me get healed from him because it's allowed. It's permitted. Below hispik ligmor es hadavar. He wasn't able to finish the discussion until he died. Umes, his soul left him and he died. Kara la Rabbi Shmuel said about him, Ashrecha ben Dama, Sheguf Chatar, praiseworthy is ben Dama, that his body is pure, V'yatzta nishmascha bitahara, and his soul left bitahara, because Rashi says his life left as he was saying mutter, which is synonymous with tahara. It's permitted, it's pure, and therefore he left on this on this pure note of saying permitted. And v'lo avarta al divrei chaverecha, and you didn't transgress the words of your colleagues, meaning the words of the rabbis, because it says about that shayu omrim upo rates gather yishkenu nachash. Transgressing rabbinic enactments is like breaching the fence. The rabbis make enactments to make a fence to protect the biblical laws. Yishkenu nachash, a snake is going to bite you. So what do you see? You see that even for Chayisha, it sounds like the case must be his death was imminent no matter what. He's for sure dying. There's a lethal bite of a snake. However, maybe he could live for a little bit longer and get healed from this apostate. And yet he didn't let him go do this. So what do you see? That we don't let you go to an apostate even in this situation. That's against what we just said, that we're not worried about that. We're not worried that he might take away your life even earlier if he could help you. So why over here didn't he let him do that? He could have extended his life for a few more days, and yet he didn't do that. Says the Gemara, really the status quo is you are allowed to go to an idol worshiper and get healed. And we're not worried that he might take your life earlier. You're allowed to take that risk. The difference is here, he wasn't a regular idol worshiper, he was an apostate. Shiny minus demashka. He really draws you to idol worship. The asi lemimshach basrayu. He's really he has his idol with him. He's much more of someone who's trying to draw you after their idol worship. Now, even though this person is on his deathbed, but that's the rule that they made. And when it comes to an apostate, we don't interact with them even in these cases at all. So yeah. Now just filling in the blank details of the story. So the Gemara says, what are you worried about? A snake might bite him. It already bit him. He's already bitten by a snake. So ihunami chavyatarke, the snake bit him. Yeah, but chavi dirabanon the lesle asusa klal. No, there's a difference. A regular snake bite, there's a chance of healing. Maybe you can extend it. The snake bite, by breaching the words of the rabbis, there is no healing at all. Why? So the Gemara, at least I think the first time it says it is in Brachos, that kola over whoever violates the words of the rabbis is chayiv misa. A person is liable to the death of heaven, and therefore, since if a person violates those rabbinic enactments, they're liable to the death of heaven, and therefore Hashem is taking he's going to kind of kill the person. So he's going to do it through the means of the snake, and that's not going to have any healing whatsoever. So that's much worse. Now I heard one time, and then I saw they also pointed out. I heard it in the name of the Ran. I think they point out that it's the name of the Rabbi Yonah, same school of thought. But basically, why? How can we have biblical transgressions that the death penalty, that there's no death penalty, and you have rabbinic transgressions that there is a death penalty? Like, how does it? So at least one interpretation is that often people violate biblical transgressions because their evil inclination got the best of them. So okay, no, Yetzirah, not good. You get punished, but we're not taking your life. But people who violate the rabbinic transgressions often comes from the attitude of it's only rabbinic, it's only derabanan, it's only, and that is something which is liable to death. When you undermine one of the foundational principles of the Torah, so that is something which you sort of lose your merit to remain alive. And for that, it says Yechayiv Misa. So it's a big difference when a person does something wrong. Is it coming from an attitude and like, it's only or is it coming from I have a desire and a lust, and those desires and lusts sometimes get the best of people. Okay, now what did he want to say? He was saying, I have a verse for you, and before he could utter it, he died. So what was that verse? Says the verse, V'chai bahem, this is the verse where life comes first. V'chai bahem, the mitzvah there, to live through them. V'lo shiyamos them, and not to die from them. V'chai bahem, v'lo shiyamos them. Now, okay, that's a great verse. That is the source. That you don't that your life comes first, except for a few cases. So if that's true, what did Rabbi Shmuel hold? Rabbi Shmuel held Hani Mili B'tzina. Yeah, that's privately. Aval B'farhesya lo. But when it comes to public things, as we had in Sanhedrin, then we don't say this. Now, what do we say? Let's see. The Tanya higher Rabbi Shmuel Omer Minayin Shim Omer Lo Adam. If they tell a person, the idol worshippers, the non-Jews, they tell a person, Avodah Vodas Kochavim ve'al tehareg, you better serve the idol, and then we will not kill you. So what do? Sheyavod ve'al yahareg. You serve the idol and you don't get killed. How do I know? Talmud Lomar v'chai behem v'lo shemus behem. So you serve the idol and you don't get killed because you live and you shouldn't die through the mitzvahs. Says the Brisa, Yachol afilu b'farhesya. What about if it's in public? If it's in public, that breaks the rules. Talmud Lomar v'lo techalu es shem kodshi. You cannot profane my name, Hashem says, and therefore, serving an idol in public is a tremendous profanity of God's name, and for that you take your life. So Rabbi Shmuel held here. It sounds like that. So according to Rabbi Shmuel, there is some element, I guess, of something in public over here going to the apostate. I mean, it's not exactly the same case. Here, he's being healed by an apostate. He's not violating Avodah Zora. He's just being healed by the apostate. But even so, it sounds like Rabbi Shmuel held that he should not violate the words of the rabbis in a public way by going to the apostate. Better take a person's life. Yeah. Maybe others will learn from him to go to the apostate also. And once you go to the apostate, then they're going to be drawn after the Avodah Zora, and that's going to be a tremendous profanity of God's name. Okay. Yeah. Now Hilchos Shabbos, exciting. So, Amar Rabbi Barchana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan.
Think about it. Shabbos is coming soon.
Shabbos coming soon. That's right. So, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Yeah, healing on Shabbos is not so simple. So usually the rule of thumb is, or at least one of the rules of thumb is that we'll see that rabbinic certain healings, were prohibited on Shabbos, unless there's a certain degree of illness, they were prohibited. So originally they were prohibited lest you might come to crush herbs, which were used for healing, but that still applies even nowadays, unless there's a certain level of illness. What that is up for debate. But one of the places where they bring it from is from our Gemara. So let's see. Amar Rabba, Amar Rabbi Chan, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Kol makas shemechalanas Shabbos ein mesapim mehen. So says Rabbi Yochanan, any injury which you are mechalal Shabbos for, you cannot go to the idol worshiper and get healed from. So any injury which would be enough of an injury that on Shabbos you're allowed to violate Shabbos to heal yourself, that injury you're not allowed to go to the idol worshiper and get healed from them. Sounds like less than that, something which is more minor, you could go, which would fly in the face of Rabbi Yehuda's statement about using the blood letters lancet. And that's how Rashi simply understands. They're arguing. Rabbi Yehuda said earlier, right in the second Gemara, that even the blood letters lancet, you can't go for even the most minor thing. And Rabbi Yochanan says you could. So many argue on Rashi, and they give a different answer. But okay, either way. So ve'ika de Amri, some say Amar Rabbi Barchan, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Kol makeh shel chala. Now we're getting to a little bit definitions. Any internal injury. So chala is like a hole. It's like a cavity. It's like a space. Anything inside the body is something which ein mesap man. You cannot go to the idol worshiper, since that is something which you could get healed from. Simply understood, an internal injury is going to be much more fatal than an external injury, right? So yeah. So now, what's the difference between these two opinions? They sound so similar. Gav hayad, the gav hareg. What about the back of your hand or the back of one's foot? So this is not an internal injury. This is only an external injury. So according to, but yet you're allowed to be. It's something which we'll see. You're allowed to be healed for that on Shabbos. So according to the first opinion, you cannot go to a idol worshiper for such an injury. According to the second opinion, you could because it's not an internal injury; it's only an external injury. Yeah. Okay. So now, Damar of Ada Barmasna Amarav Gavayad Gavaregel Harehin Kamaka Shachalo. This back of your hand, back of your foot injuries have the same status like an internal injury, level of pain, a level of fatality. Umechalin alas Shabbos, and you are allowed to violate Shabbos for this injury. Okay, more definitions about what you can violate Shabbos for. Amr Rav Zutra Bar Tuvia, Amr Rav Kol Makash Tzricha Omeid Mechalnas Shabbos. Any injury which sounds like it's very dangerous, that you have to evaluate, is this life-threatening or not? So if it's that level of an injury, is this life-threatening, then you violate Shabbos. You don't have to wait to evaluate it. If it's something which you're considering evaluating that's going to be life-threatening. That's going to be something which you can violate Shabbos for. Amar of Shaman Bar Abba, Amar of Yochanan, v'hai ishta tzmirta. It's a burning fever. So is kimaka shalchaladami. That is like on the level of an internal injury, and therefore you are allowed to break Shabbos for that. So I think they also point out for Moshe Feinstein, 102-degree fever is considered, how much of a fever is considered a fever. So, okay. So umechalin, that's a Shabbos. Now,
so this is basically what allows a doctor to drive to a patient because it's.
I was thinking the patient to drive to the doctor. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay. I grew up in the previous day when doctors actually drove to
patients, right? Or this allows you to take pills, to take Tylenol or Advil on Shabbos.
No, but I'm thinking the case where you go to the doctor and it's not as bad as you think it is.
Exactly. Yeah. Good. Yeah, that's a good question. Can you take your temperature to see if it's something? Right. Usually you could tell that the kid's burning hot. Usually something like that. Yeah. So, yeah. So, okay, that's kimaka shel chaladami umechalin as a Shabbos. So, from where does it begin? The internal injuries, mehecha and maka shel chalal, pir shabi ami min asaf v'lefnim. From your lip and inwards is considered internal. That's an internal injury. By Rabbi Eliezer, so kachi v'shinai mai, your gums and your teeth hurt. So what's the question? Kaven da akushenin, who they're hard, they're solid. Maybe that's kimaka debroi, even though they're inside your mouth, but they're hard. So maybe that injury is less damaging because it's something which is solid versus if it's something which is soft, it's going to get inside and mess with the inside of the body. So that's kimaka debroi. But they're inside. At the end of the day, it's something which is inside your mouth, and maybe that can cause a tremendous amount of fatality and injury. So maybe that's kimaka shel. That's like an internal injury. So Amar Abaye says, Abaye, Toshma, let's bring a brisa to answer this question. Hachoshesh b'shin, of one who has a tremendous toothache. Lo yigama behenas achometz. You're not allowed to on Shabbos swallow vinegar. That seems to be a remedy for your toothache, but the rabbis decreed you can't do that on Shabbos. Having a toothache is not enough to permit you to take the special vinegar potion. Yeah. When there's no danger, you can't take medicine. Here, there's no danger. It sounds like for a toothache, that's not enough of a danger. Okay, now obviously there are toothaches and there are toothaches, right? Some toothaches are mamish unbearable. It's very sensitive. So, so you see that it's just like the tooth worries him, so to speak, very low level. But if it actually hurt him, ka'ev is like it really hurts him, then for sure you could go and drink your vinegar potion. So shapri dami, then that would be good. So you see that for a tooth, even though it's hard, but if it really hurts you, you can violate Shabbos for that. Vidilma says where maybe Tana hecha dekayev letuva choshesh nami karile. Maybe the word the Bryce used of choshesh, that it like bothers you, maybe it was referring to not a lower level. That's how it referred to the pain. It used the word choshesh, but it means a high level of pain. So you can't bring a proof. Choshesh no, koev yeah. Maybe choshesh means koev, and it's still no. So therefore, our question remains unresolved. Tashmar Rabbi Yochanan chash b'tzafidna. So Rabbi Yochanan had pain in his tzafidna, which is a way to say the pain, a tooth pain. He had tooth pain. Same word, chash. Interesting. Yeah, it's another way of saying he's sick in the teeth. So some people are sick in the head, some people are sick in the teeth. Yeah. So azal legaba dahi matrunisa. So he went to this idol worshiper doctor. So avda chamsha umale shabasa. She made him this potion. It was erev Shabbos. Says Rabbi Yochanan, Amar la lemachar mai. Okay, listen, that's good for today, but what about tomorrow? So Amar le lo tzichas. No, you're not gonna need it tomorrow. It'll heal you today. Okay, but let's say itzarchina mai. Let's say I do need it tomorrow. So how should I do it? What should I do? Meaning, tell me your secret remedy. I want to know. So this is like a very secret remedy. So ishtabali de lo megalis. Make a shavua to me that you're not going to reveal this secret remedy to anybody. So he said, ishtavala. Now it's going to be important. Le eloka yisrael lo maglina. I swear to you that to the God of Israel I will not reveal it. Now it's going to make a difference. He said, I'm not going to reveal it to the God of Israel. And he didn't say by the name of the God of Israel. So we'll see why that makes a difference. So what happened? Galilei, she revealed to him the secret potion, the secret remedy for his toothache. And what happened? Good Rabbi. Lemachar nafak Joshua bepirka. What was tomorrow's Joshua's about in shul? Was this remedy? He told everyone the remedy. So he let out the secret. Okay. Says the Gemara, 1 second. Vahishtabala. He made a shvua. You can't violate a shvua. He said, no, le'elo kadi Yisrael lo magilna. Avala ame Yisrael magilna. I'm not going to reveal it to the God of Israel, but I'll reveal it to the people of Israel. So Rashi points out they didn't say by the name of Hashem. That would have been a real shvua. Says, okay, 1 second. Vahikachil Hashem. What does that mean? You told her you're not going to do it. You made a shvua. In her eyes, you made a shvua, and you violated it. That's going to create a chil Hashem. So says the Gemara, no, it's not a chil Hashem. Why? The galila meikara. He told her originally, after he made a shvua, you should know that this oath is not actually binding. It's not a good full-fledged oath. And yet, she decided to tell him anyways. What the potion is. Okay, that's parenthetical. But now, what do you see? Alma kimaka shachalal damya. But you see, he was asking how to do it on Shabbos and take it. So we see that a toothache is enough to be considered like an internal injury. So now, Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Oh, so that's a proof to our question about teeth. The answer is, even though it's hard, but it's still considered internal, and therefore one can violate Shabbos by making a potion for that. Now, Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak shiny. By the way, just so far, the violating Shabbos here is referring to the rabbinic enactment not to take medicine, right? Can you do more than that? That might be a separate question. What happens about driving now? Can you drive for a toothache? I mean, that's already a separate question. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the rabbinic prohibition. To take medicine was waived in the case of things that have a status of internal injuries. Yeah. Amar of Nachman bar Yitzchak. Shiny tzafidna. No, toothaches are different. Why? So teeth in specific are different because they start in the mouth, but they can go down to the intestines. So that really is internal. It doesn't start internally, but it finishes off internally. So you can't necessarily bring that as a proof for other things that are hard, that are inside the body, because this one is really ends up affecting the intestines. So, okay. So now, my simone, what was that special remedy? Right, I think so. Sorry, no. What's the sign? What's the sign to know if you have this toothache, this smidna, this safidna? So, Rami midi be kachi. you umaisi dama mibei dari. It sounds like you pour something into your mouth and comes out from your row of teeth blood. That would be a sign that you have a certain toothache. When you put something in your mouth and all of a sudden between your teeth, your row of teeth, blood starts coming out. That would be a sign that you have this thing called the tzafidina, this toothache. Okay. Now it says the Gemara, mimai have. So mimai have is, what should you do? Where's it? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Where does it come from? Thank you. Where does it come from? So now 3 places. Mikriri, kriri dechiti, sounds like eating cold wheat on a cold day. Or mechame chamimi desari, or having hot barley on a hot day. Or umishure kasdaharsana, or eating the leftover fish juice, leftover fish liquid. So those things can cause this toothache. Okay. Now, Mai of the lay, what was the potion that she made for Rav Yochanan? What was the secret remedy? So Amar Acha Brei Rava, mace or like yeast liquid, yeast juice, water, Vishem and Zayas, olive oil, melach, and salt. That's one. Or Umar Rav Ashi Amar, another opinion is Mashcha the Avza, Begad for the Avza. It's like goose fat with a feather of a goose. Geese fat with a feather of a geese. So that's the potion. So Amar Abaye, Ana Avdi Kulu, Lo would say, I did these remedies, and guess what? I wasn't healed. And I wasn't healed. Ad Amar Liyahu Taya, until the certain Arab person told me, I see Kishaisa, does Isa take, like I think it's the pit of the olive. The pit of the olive, Delo Malu Tilta, which has not yet been a third grown, and then Vikalinu Amra Chadata, and it sounds like you have to scorch it and burn it on one of your new tools that you burn things with. Vidavik Beid the Dari, and then put it on your row of teeth. Of the Hachiv, he did this and he was healed. Okay. We'll continue from here.